You are listening to Two Heels and a Face Wrestling Podcast, a podcast where we believe wrestling is a buffet and there's something there for everyone. Make sure you're following us on all social media such as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook under Two Heels and a Face. That's number 2 Heels and a Face. Make sure you check out our website, twoheelsandaface.com.
Era, Two Heels and a Face.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Two Heels and a Face Wrestling Podcast. It is just I today. It is I of the two. Chris cannot join today, so it's Charlie, and I have a very special guest today, which I'll get into. But yeah, we're doing another buffet line episode today. It is our last year as a podcast. We're trying to kind of tie up loose ends. We've been doing this for 8+ years. And there's been someone who I think has recently come onto the scene as of recent. Chris and I have wanted to have this person on for a bit. So this is like a really nice loose end to tie up and just make sure we get this person's story, background, etc., whatever you want to know about them out there before we ride off into the sunset forever. So Regan Lydale, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. We're about to bring her on. She has been, I think, energizing the freelance crowd is really like the best word I would use to describe that. She brings a ton of energy. She's young. She's, I would say, a recent graduate. I think she's got a bright future ahead of her. And yeah, that's the purpose of the buffet line and of Two Heels and a Face Wrestling Podcast. So if I'm doing this correctly, because I am in the back end, let me welcome Regan Lydale. Regan, thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
And that's Lydale, right? I'm saying that correctly?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for coming on. Obviously wanted to have you on for just like the buzz I think you're creating in freelance wrestling. And we talked a little bit about the buffet line. You're familiar, though, with some buffet line episodes, correct?
Yes and no. I believe you did one with Alfonso Gonzalez, and
Okay.
I did listen to that one. Honestly, I think that might have been the only one that I have listened to. Maybe I've dabbled in a couple of them, but
yeah.
I'm also not an avid podcast listener, unfortunately. So
Okay.
That's where the other short ones come in. But yeah, I definitely listened to the one with Alfonso.
I love that. And that's okay. Yeah. You don't, listening to us is not a requirement to being on the show. So that's all good. You won't be hurting my feelings for sure. But yeah, so buffet line, to break it down quickly, is 3 sections: a salad bar, which is a little bit more get to know you. And that's a section I'm really interested in as well, because I think we talked beforehand, and like we've met, but not necessarily have shared too many conversations. So I'm hoping to have more of those. So the salad bar is the get to know you section. The main course or hot plate is a little bit like in ring. We're in ring. We're in the freelance ring. We're talking about matches and like kind of the live action stuff. Dessert is guilty pleasures. What else are you interested in? And then we're going to end with a round of word association. That's where I say one word, you give me a one-word answer back. So we'll see how well you do there. Are you nervous about that section or no?
Probably a little bit. My brain does not work very quickly, so I don't want to give any stupid answers out there.
Okay. How many have you been on a ton of podcasts? I know you're still fairly young and you've been doing this just for a few years, correct?
Yeah, actually June is going to be coming up, and that's going to mark my 3rd year since I debuted in ring.
Cool.
So that's pretty exciting. But yeah, I've honestly only done, I think, 2 podcasts. This is my 3rd one. So it's exciting, trying to do something new. So I'm excited to be on here.
Yeah, absolutely. So 3rd year since debuting. And I still think that's still I would consider that 3 years. You could probably learn a ton in that, but I think you still got a long way to go as well.
Absolutely.
How many years training before that then?
I started training in March of 2021, I believe. I unfortunately got injured like probably 2 weeks in. I took a bump wrong, so that was keeping me out of the ring for a couple of months. So I was probably only training maybe a little less than a year before I actually debuted, if we're going to take out the months I wasn't in ring, but you still continue to learn while you're watching. So it was very, helpful to be there, even when I wasn't in the ring doing things.
Yeah. And that was so starting a kind of a weird time because like, whenever you talk to someone, basically the years 2020 and 2022 all feel like 1 year together. Or like there wasn't a ton of wrestling going on when you first kind of started, correct?
Yeah, I wouldn't say so. I think they were still kind of I can't quite remember if they were still doing like the virtual crowds for like WWE or anything like that, but
yeah,
I still don't think like even just like independent wrestling, I really don't think any of that was going on either, at least around me.
right.
But yeah.
Definitely. And were you like born and raised local to the city or Chicagoland area?
Yeah, if you say like I don't know if this is considered Chicagoland, but like Joliet area is where I'm at. So I've been living near a town near Joliet, so I've been here my entire life.
Yeah, I have family in New Lenox.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's very close to me. I'm in Lockport, so very close to the general area over there.
Yeah, that's Chicagoland area to me. I think it's like as far west as Aurora, I would probably say.
Okay, yeah, like, that makes sense then. Yeah.
Maybe Aurora's a little. It's just huge, but yeah, that for sure. So Reagan, the initial question we usually start out with is, what do you love about wrestling? So, what are like the aspects do you love about wrestling? Like some people say, like the performing side. Some people say like the in-ring action, but like, what are the qualities, the traits that draw you to this weird world we're living in of professional wrestling?
I think also the first thing that comes to mind is that everybody kind of gets to be, I call it like, essentially like an alter ego, right? You can't really be this person maybe in the real world, but you're able to kind of put on this show to, perform to other people, but also have fun doing it at the same time with your own, I guess, made up identity, right? And that's practically what has drawn me to it. I find myself to be much more energetic in the ring than I am in person. So it's exciting to honestly be like a whole different person than I just am in a normal life.
That's one kind of, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but like the Regan Lydale in the ring and the Regan who's like, sitting where you are right now, like say chilling in your bedroom on your own free time, like how different are those people?
I would say they're not too different. Like I said, I would say the most different thing about the two people is in person, I'm much more maybe mellow. I'm not, screaming in people's faces out of excitement, but in the ring, I'm out there and I'm yelling so much that I'm losing my voice the next day, which is quite frequent and it sucks, but it's an exciting experience to have, and I'm so glad I get to do it.
Yeah. And how tall are you? Because you're deceptively tall to me. Maybe it's just like when you do like a back swinging kick, I'm like, wow, that leg, like it's a longer leg than I thought was like going to swing around this corner. So like, yeah, where do you stand with that?
I stand like, 6 foot, but it's 5'11", but you gotta, round up. So we'll say 6 foot for that, but.
Yeah. And I think like, so that's basically, we'll say 6 foot. So you're taller than me. You're taller than me. And I think you're probably on the above average side for a woman, right? In terms of like average height, or am I wrong on that?
Oh, no, you're right. I think the average height for a woman, honestly, the last time I heard, and I could be completely lying, but I think it's like 5'4", maybe 5'5". So I'm definitely above average in terms of women's height.
And you worked that into your style, right? And is that like on purpose? Like, how did you think, like, what was like kind of the first realization? Like, oh, I could throw like an X-Pac roundhouse right here and it would work.
I'll be honest. I think like after I saw myself in my gear, my legs are like super long. They look like, they're long, but like deceptively long in that gear. And I was like, well, might as well use my legs to my advantage. So that's where I started doing the spinning heel kick in the corner. I will say when I first started doing that, it's not the best, but I've
Okay.
learned to just kind of throw myself into it, and it makes it look killer. So I can't complain about that.
Yeah, it's definitely a trademark. It's definitely something I would say like no one on the roster is doing as much. It kind of feels like you got a little bit of that Booker T like axe kickiness to you, if that makes sense.
Oh no, for sure.
Definitely. So give me your give me your elevator pitch for who Regan Lydale is the performer, like the in-ring persona. Like if you're in an elevator with like, let's say wherever your dream job is executive and you got to pitch your character, what are you saying to me?
Oh my goodness, that's right on the spot, and I don't even know. I would say honestly, it's so basic, but the one thing that I say to a lot of people, even like, commentators, they're kind of doing the same thing where you're trying to pitch yourself to somebody. I would honestly just say like, I'm a hippie, but I'm down to, have a fight in the ring, right? I feel like I
Okay.
still show a little bit of like an aggressive style in a way, more like with just like the power moves. But at the end of the day, I'm still bringing a very high, like intense energy in the ring, and I feel like that also radiates off to a lot of people. And I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, that's just my goal, is to radiate my good energy.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that definitely shines through in the crowd's reaction. So it's like you do have the chill hippie side, but also one that likes a good scrap.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. I can get down with that. That's cool. Where do you take inspiration from? Is it other wrestlers, or is it like, I mean, the only hippie wrestler I can think of is maybe Dude Love or maybe Van Hammer.
You're practically correct. Like Mick
Okay.
Foley, um, I very much kind of base my gimmick, if you will,
Okay.
around him, where it's like, he had the three faces, and I don't have the three faces, but I kind of like to. I don't want to compare myself to him, but the dude love aspect is where it's like, oh, he's
Yeah.
in the ring, hippie, if you will. And someone has told me before that I kind of reminded them of that. And I was like, oh, well, thank you very much. I'm very flattered. But that's honestly the big inspiration for me. And
Dude
like
Love.
outside of wrestling, I would say a lot of Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac kind of,
Love it.
music, attire. I really
Yeah.
want to get gear done that kind of embodies Stevie Nicks. So I'm hoping to get that done. But yeah, that's a lot of the inspiration that I get my stuff from.
Cool. I want to say too, kind of when you start answering, there's like a little bit of lag, but I can still kind of make out I can still, it's just like those 3 seconds when you start an answer. But yes, to recap, so just heads up, to recap, don't do anything about it. But to recap, yes, Dude Love and Stevie Nicks. So that's interesting because I feel like you're definitely a lot younger than I am. We don't have to get into ages, but Stevie Nicks is an older artist. So why the older music, older artists? Did that come from someone like a parent or no?
Yes, honestly, I grew up around a lot of that music. When I was younger, I was like, this isn't good. What is this? Whatever. But as I started getting older, I really started to appreciate that music a lot more. My best friend's parents at the time, they were always playing like 60s music, 70s music.
Yeah.
My family were in the backyard hanging out, they're always playing that music, and it just brings a little sense of like almost comfort, maybe. I don't want to say
Yeah.
nostalgia, because I definitely wasn't born in that time or like that year, but I don't know, just a weird sense of comfort, and I honestly, I love it. And I don't know, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I love that. I think I have like my wife has a brother who was kind of born later, and he was
Mhm.
born in like '02, and he probably his like favorite band is Led Zeppelin. He knows more about Led Zeppelin
Oh yeah.
than I do, and like I was a
Right.
'90s kid, so like, I mean, like I know Led was before the '90s, but like I should have probably been listening to them growing up,
Right.
and like I was just maybe one era or an era and a half removed, and he's like 3 eras removed, and he's so yeah. I think there's still some of that where it's like a lot of that music is timeless, and
Oh, for
if you
sure.
latch on to something, you can really go down a rabbit hole.
It's like a lot of it was my mom. She
Yeah.
loves Bon Jovi. I've seen Bon Jovi like 2, 3 times in concert with her, which
Cool.
is like really fun. I got to see Elton John in concert, which was
That's
really
awesome.
sick. And then a couple, I don't know how long ago it was, but I got to see Queen, who like they had Adam
Oh
Lambert with
yeah.
them in concert.
Yeah,
It
of
was
course.
like I got to see the people that I wanted to see before, I couldn't see them anymore. So I was very excited for that to happen. But it's just, like you said, timeless music, and I love it.
Yeah, and I noticed that you obviously Greta is your entrance theme.
Oh, yeah.
And they're a throwback band. Like they sound like they were born and made music in a different era. So like
Yes,
that
absolutely.
makes sense. So like, yeah, do you like that band a lot?
I do. I kind of only recently found out about them maybe just a couple of years ago. Um, but when I was like looking for my theme music, I really wanted to use Edge of 17 by Stevie Nicks, but the intro was like crazy long, and I was like, all right, I can't stand there for like a minute and a half. So
Yeah.
I decided on Safari Song by Greta Van Fleet, and I also think that kind of became a staple of Reagan because a lot of people will just kind of come up to me and start doing the little yell that's in the beginning, and I'm like, I know exactly what you're referencing. It's the song. And so
Yeah.
it's pretty cool to like have that where your theme song kind of just staples you together. Like it's great.
Yeah, no, it's key. Like, trust me. I mean, I know I'm speaking in wrestling, right? Like to hear the music and to know exactly who it is a really cool thing. Even in, I think it goes a long way in the indies too, because like there is a little bit of inconsistency. Like indie wrestlers who just are figuring out who they are, they
Right.
will like change songs, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like, or they'll go to a different promotion and like, maybe have a different song or something like that. So I
Mhm.
think too, WWE usually, if the person's over, it's very consistent. You know what their theme is, but to have that same feeling on the indies is harder to
Oh,
get.
absolutely. Yes.
So yeah, if you can have that, if you can resonate that theme with that person immediately, like let's say like Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, I think of Effie. Like
Oh, absolutely.
I can't hear that song in the wild and
No.
not think of that man. So it's like
Oh,
if you can
right.
get on
Yes.
that level, I think you're on your way to that level. So
Oh, it's great. I love it. And I feel the exact same way with it's like you said, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I'm like, I love this song. That was like my favorite song. I mean, it still is by Elton John, but I just can't listen to it anymore without thinking of Effie. And I'm like,
yeah,
not that it's a bad thing, but I never thought that would have happened.
yeah, exactly. You never thought you'd make that connection. So I think your theme song too is so key for the energy that you bring. That is like there's people on the roster that do this in different ways. Like I think Angel Escalera is a great energy surge when you need
Absolutely.
one. And I think you are in that same category as well too. When like you're really good you can be good anywhere on the card, but to start a show or like to maybe start after a intermission and to get that crowd
Hmm.
energized, I think that's like a strong asset you bring.
Well,
And
thank you. Thank you.
do you feel that crowd connection is like growing with you, like getting booked more, you're winning more freelance? Do you feel like you bring good energy to the crowd and they reciprocate of it?
Yes, I do. I do believe that I bring a good energy to the crowd. I am still, even with just still getting confident and like comfortable within myself within wrestling and being in front of a like a huge crowd. We're selling out shows every time at Logan Square, and it's like, oh my gosh, all these people. But I love that I get to have that connection with a lot of the crowd or the audience members,
Yeah.
and there's just there's just been times where my friend, my old coworker, she comes to a lot of my shows, and just to see her be there for the support, and I'm just like, again, yelling in her face. I'm just like, I'm getting so hype, and then everybody else around her gets hype because she's getting very excited. So
Yeah.
it's it's definitely like a cool feeling, and I can definitely feel, honestly, like the love that I give to them. I feel the love that they give back, and it's great.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. Well, that's a good time to transition into like more in-ring stuff. So this concludes the salad bar. Last question: what is your favorite part of a salad?
The croutons.
Yes. Okay.
I love a good crouton. If it's a bad crouton, it kind of ruins the salad. I can't lie. I've had multiple flavors of croutons, and you know, I will stand by that till the day I die. For sure.
I love that. That Chris is gonna roll his eyes at this. Because crouton is my answer, and it is the most popular answer. If there's anything, if people have been like listening to us for a while, or like, you know, start and stop, that's fine. If you've learned anything over the past 8 years, is that people fucking love croutons. That's the biggest takeaway from this podcast.
I mean, it's even just like good as a snack. You can't go wrong with it. So I mean, croutons are just very, very good. I don't know why he's hating.
Yeah, I don't know. We gotta get him on the crouton train. Okay,
Sure. Absolutely.
Stepping into the main course of the buffet line. Let's talk about training. What are like when you first started training? What are some of like the biggest like hurdles or shocking moments where you're like, damn, is it like taking bumps, or is it like what are some things that are a little bit like eye opening when you first kind of start training and hit the ground running?
I think honestly, it wasn't even the bumps because I was expecting that. I think it was the fact that I was having to learn and like not quote unquote like mess up in front of a large, training class, and it's to get over that social anxiety and being in front of people I just met, and it's you don't want to embarrass yourself in front of people just by like messing up something, but at the end of the day everybody there has been through the same thing, and you're here to learn. You can't you shouldn't be embarrassed. That was definitely the big one, was to get over the, I guess, fear of that. And I'm really glad that I did, because now I can sit there and like help people that are going through the same thing, and I feel like it's a pretty normal thing to be afraid of, is to do all this in front of other people. But that was definitely the big one to get over.
Yeah. Who were some of those shepherds to help like guide the way? Who were some of those trainers that kind of helped you be like, yo, it's okay. Like people mess up all the time, kind of.
Definitely Isaiah. He was the one that I, has started like to train with the most, and he has always emphasized, like even before you step in the ring, please let us know, like if you don't know how to do something, or if you're too afraid to do this, or something like that, to make yourself more comfortable, but also to make sure that you know what to do. You don't want to do something without not knowing how to do it. So he's definitely the one I feel like that pushes that the most, and I know Bree does as well, Kylie, but Isaiah is definitely for sure.
And cool. So you feel comfortable right now, like even like the people that maybe were like on the academy show or are starting. Are you kind of passing down that knowledge to them?
Yes, I am. I kind of go up to them if they do a drill or something like that, and something was just a little off or whatever. I try to just let them know, like, hey, try to fix this, and so for next time you can work on it and make it better. And it's nothing to be like ashamed of. It's just something to work on, and everybody is always continuing to grow and to learn. So it's definitely fun, and very humbling at the same time to be able to do that.
Yeah. And then what was your debut at freelance wrestling? Can you recall that?
My debut, I am really bad with dates, so I cannot remember the date.
No, that's okay. Just describe. Yeah,
it's definitely June of 2022. But it was against Sabin Gage. It was a freelance academy match, and I was terrified, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely was I terrified, but it was a good moment. Like, I just had my debut in wrestling. Granted, I did have like, I call it my match zero, but I did a kind of just squash match essentially with it was Berwyn Championship Wrestling at the time, and it was me and Missa Kate, and she just gave me a black mass to the head, and that was like the match. But I was terrified. I was under a different like at the time, but it was literally just complete one off. And even then, it was good that I had that experience to be in front of like still a larger crowd, but to do it at the it was actually an Emporium show, that I got to do that in front of like a even bigger crowd. It was insane.
Yeah. So you were under a different gimmick. You were saying, like, at the time when you got squashed.
Yeah, it was made up, probably the name was made up the day of.
Okay.
I found gear like at some, it was a hippie store. I found gear at some hippie
Love
store. It
it.
was like fake leather. And I was wearing, it was black makeup. It was all black. Very
Okay.
different from Regan Lydale now, but the name was Sedona. I was
Okay.
just like, oh, Sedona, I like that name, and like I'm not gonna use this as my gimmick, so we'll just use that, and then that's a totally separate thing. Now we're Reagan. But it was a good learning experience for sure as well, to like be in the locker room beforehand and get to talk to a lot of people and like learn a lot of things.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that you took that opportunity to do that. Yeah, and now like kind of fast forward, you're a hot commodity right now at freelance. How has been like? I would say this run kind of started like middle to later of last year.
Yes.
How it's like if you were to summarize like the last like 8 or 9 freelance shows, and you're like catching some steam, catching some fire. How have those felt to you?
Just kind of surreal. I feel
Okay.
like it's been a very great like experience so far, great run, and it's just I never expected to see myself in this, I guess, position. And for me, it just means like the world, honestly, that I
Yeah.
get to be, in front of these people, making connections, meeting a lot of new wrestlers, making friends, and it's just one of my favorite things to do. And not just being biased because it's my home promotion, it's freelance, but it's my favorite day of every month is to go do this and just have fun.
Yeah. Have you felt it sounds like you're like so I think I would struggle with the same thing too, like fear of failure, right? And it sounds like that's what
Yeah.
you were struggling with in training. And
Yes.
maybe even like on your debut, like you got thoughts running through your head about what if I mess up, etc.
Mhm.
Have and it sounds like wrestling has helped with that. Have you found that you have maybe less fear of failure and other things outside of wrestling because of like how you've kind of conquered that fear a little bit in the freelance ring?
Um, now that you mention it, yes and no. Like definitely at
Okay.
my shoot job,
Yeah.
I'm a manager, and I definitely used to be afraid of like messing up on everything and being like, oh my gosh, everything has to be perfect. I don't want my general
Okay.
manager to get mad. But at the end of the day, she's like, I don't care if you mess up. It's just a learning process, and it's an opportunity for you to grow. And that's kind of how I try to view things now, is to not be afraid of that, and things kind of just happen, and you have to kind of just deal with it, and that's okay.
Yeah. No, it can be as blunt as that. It can be
Mhm.
as yeah, that makes sense. Okay, fast forward to like one goal. What are like some of your current challenges now? Like, how are you continuing to like learn and grow and perfect your craft at like the upcoming freelance show? Let's say, which I believe one goal is Friday, May 23rd. If you're listening to this, I think I got
Yeah.
that date right. So, like, what like going into that show? What are some things you want to continue to try and do?
I want to definitely try to expand like what I can do in the ring in terms
Okay.
of, more than just moves, but like psychology,
Yeah.
different, I guess, not just moves, but like different sequences. I want to try new things. And especially, I'm in the Rumble. The Rumble is like time for you to show what you can mainly do. And I want to try to bring something new to that. So we'll see if that happens. But I'm definitely excited for this Rumble, and I'm going to try to do my best to win this match for sure.
Yeah. How have you been lately? Like, how would you rate yourself lately with like, let's say, promos? I think promos is a tougher thing for like people trying to kind of like. To me, I would say you're over at freelance, but still, like, there's still a little bit of that mount. There's still some of that mountain to climb, right? Like you still want to win championships and things like that. So I'm assuming. So like, how have you been with promos? Would you say?
If we're gonna be completely honest, promos is like the number one bad thing that I'm like that I struggle with in wrestling for
Okay.
sure. I definitely have gotten more comfortable doing them, and I do study promos. I try to, but for some reason, I just cannot talk without messing up, or I talk too fast, so then I stumble over my words. And it's a process to do a promo, honestly. Kind of sucks that it takes me sometimes a little longer than it should to do a promo, but it's also, at the end of the day, is the more I do them, the more I'll get comfortable with it. And it's just all about, I don't want to say practicing, but just, practicing promos and getting as much as you can. So definitely a struggle for sure, but it's also something that I like to work on and have fun with as well. I'm trying to like do things differently with like different settings and sceneries and whatnot. So instead of just standing in front of a curtain and doing a promo. So I'm just trying to be creative with it.
Definitely. I would say, like, as a fan, stay away from the car. Just as a fan, I know that I could never do.
Yeah, for sure.
I could never do, and that's not I don't think I've seen you do one in that, so that I'm not like personally digging you, but like, and I could never do what you do. I want to say that I can never be like a performer like you are, but I feel like when I see a car promo, I immediately roll my eyes at it. So like that, like, if I could give you one bit of advice just as a fan, I'd be like, stay away from that. Do it anywhere else.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are you still in like a tussle with Blair?
Yes and no, maybe. She's still spooking me out a little bit. I can't lie, but I don't know what this email. She was talking about some email on social media, and I think she was trying to lie to me about that. I tried to find her in the forest, couldn't find her, so I'm not too sure. To be quite honest. I don't know how she feels about me, but we're still working on that.
Okay. To be like, hey, I'm gonna go find Blair Onyx in the forest. That feels like the scary. Why would you do that? Why would you ever try and attempt that?
I can't. I was just looking for her. She was accusing me of trying to kill her, and I wasn't trying to kill her in this email. So I had to go find her. I really did. So that's my answer to that one.
And it's funny too. I feel like you guys pair really well, you two, because of like how different you are.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're like, she's like planning bloody murder, and you're like, hey, can we just talk about this?
Like all I just want to do is talk, and she weirdly like sniffed my hair in the ring in that match, and I was like, whoa.
That was weird.
I was like, all right, man, I get it, but get away. You can't do that. You're trying to accuse me of trying to kill you, and now you're sniffing my hair. So it doesn't make sense. Does not make sense.
It feels like she's already like half undead too. Like you can't really kill.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, good luck with that. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
What is like a match? Maybe it's with her. Maybe it's with someone else. Like when you kind of look back at some of the matches you're proud of. Once again, you're only 3 years in, but like, what are some matches that stuck out to you? Where like, wow, I took a step there. Wow, that was really cool.
I would have to say Sandra Moon. Me and Sandra Moon.
Okay. I think I saw that one live. I want to say maybe.
I'm trying to think. I don't remember if I talked to you that day, but that's okay. I didn't. But I would say that one. She was one of the first people that I got to wrestle. That was like one of the wrestlers I wanted to wrestle, like dream match wise, and it was very exciting that I got to do that. She taught me a lot in terms of like ring psychology, and like taught me really like not to be nervous like about before matches. I got really bad with like nerves before matches, which is like totally understandable, but she was, not to say like the first person that didn't make me feel comfortable in the ring, but like outside of it as well, where she was like giving me advice and trying to help me out. So that was definitely the first one I would say that I started to like learn some things, and forever grateful for it for sure. Another one would be Shauna Reed, who I actually just wrestled this past Saturday at POW. And this was a baby match, which I don't quite frequently do. And this was a learning experience in terms of like structure of a match and how can you do like a really good baby without having like a complete like aggressor. So that was also a very good match that I was honestly proud of. And she also thought the same thing. So I'm very happy for that.
Cool. That's awesome. Any other dream matches that come to mind that you have not conquered yet or want to?
Oh my goodness. I have so many. I recently, the main one it was Bryn Thorne, but I recently just had that one last month. So that was checked off the checklist. But I would really like to wrestle a lot of independent people that I've shared the locker room with, but have never had a singles with. That'd be like Rory Shields, Heather Blue,
Okay.
and I don't want to mess up her last name, but their name is Ash, and then I believe it's GZA, but I don't know how to say it, so I'm not gonna try to butcher it.
Okay.
But very like distinct personality, and just definitely someone that I want to step in the ring with.
Yeah, that's great. And those, I'm not too familiar with those names. Where do they wrestle mostly?
Bryn Thorne, or I'm sorry, well, Bryn was from Arizona, but I know that Rory and Heather Blue are out of Michigan. I know they've definitely been stepping out of the Michigan area a lot more as of
Michigan.
late.
Okay.
And yeah, very proud of them. I love them both. And I'm not too sure, honestly, where Ash is wrestling out of most of the time, unfortunately. I just follow them on Instagram, but like I said, super great personality, and I love it. So.
Great. Before we round out the main course hot plate section, are you some people are very golf oriented focused, some people aren't, and I don't think that there's a right or wrong to this. Are you more I take it day by day, or do you have like certain goals even within this year that you want to hit, or and then maybe do you have like overarching ones like I want to be here in 8 years? But some people don't plan that far ahead. I don't. So like I don't know what type of person you are.
Honestly, I would have to say maybe I'm a little bit of both. I try not to do like long-term goals necessarily, because then I'm always trying to feel like I'm like I got to reach it. I got to reach it. I got to reach it, you know.
Yeah.
But if I take it day by day, it's less stressful, but I definitely
Yeah.
have like goals in the back of my mind, like you know, I want to wrestle for this long, and maybe I can, get to that time at some point or whatever. I wrestle
Yeah.
for some of these promotions, but it's okay if I don't do it right away. I really
And
want to go.
what are some of those?
Um, Gosh, I have a lot. I really want to go back to hybrid wrestling in Texas. That was like the first time I got flown out to wrestle, which was really cool. I'd also like to wrestle for. I'm trying to think of like all the ones I'm like put on the spot, but probably a lot of the Texas companies, honestly, like New Texas, I would
Yeah.
like to wrestle for. Um, Also out in California, I would like to wrestle for Pride Style, um,
Okay.
and just a lot of the ones that are out there, I would like to wrestle for. Yeah.
Yeah, Texas is I don't know if it's kind of still the same, but I feel like there was a lot of maybe before like this might have been like maybe 2019-ish. I feel like there was a lot of people coming in Texas to Chicago was like a big
Oh yeah.
sharing of talent, I guess you could say. Like there was a lot of companies that were flying people in and out of there. And so that seems kind of like a hotbed a little bit, the
Yeah,
Texas
I feel
area.
like yeah, it definitely is, and I feel like it kind of still happens now, where I see a lot of like talent coming to Chicago, and then we've had there was one time we had a lot of Texas talents on like one of our shows, which was really cool to like make connections with them. But I definitely still notice that, if you want to call it like trend or whatever it is, it's still happening today. So
Cool. Cool. So I love it. So you're more to recap, you're kind of more day by day, but like there's definitely things that interest you that you want to hit, whether it's wrestling certain people or wrestling for certain promotions or doing certain things. Are there any types of like matches you want to have? Or are you more just like singles, or do you want to dabble into the hardcore or none of that?
I don't know, to be honest. Like
Okay.
it's hardcore seems kind of quote unquote cool, but I don't think I have the balls to do that.
Okay.
So probably it's super uh maybe unrealistic is not the word to say, but it's something that would be like, oh, if it happens, like that's sick, but not something I'm probably actively working towards. But in terms
Okay.
of like other different like matches, have I want to have like another 2 out of 3 falls match. I had one before, and I would
Cool.
like to have another one again, just to have like the experience for it. Um, I'd also like to have maybe a ladders match at some point, or something like that. I've had a no disqualification match. It wasn't too bad, but Legos were involved, and I didn't want to be slammed on the Legos. So no thank you. But yeah, maybe a ladders match or something like that. Something cool, something fun. Not that wrestling is not fun, but something out of the ordinary, if you will.
Yeah, I think that those seem interesting, and like I think when the time calls for it, right? When the feud calls for it,
absolutely, yeah.
I'm sure you'll dip into some of that. Cool. What is your favorite? I guess we'll call it entree before we get out of the main course area. Like, what do you eat usually?
Pasta. I love pasta.
Okay.
Pasta for sure. Yeah, I like a good vodka sauce, like rigatoni, very specific, but like Parmesan cheese and some lemon, great. Call it a day. Definitely my favorite. I do love pasta.
Yeah. Oh, and before we got out of this section, what is like an ultimate match at freelance look to you? Is it for the white belt? Or is that something where it's like, I'm not thinking about that yet, but or like, what does main event freelance look like to you? Because I feel like you can get there.
I guess we're gonna, kind of go back to goals. I think at the end of the day, my ultimate goal in wrestling is just win a championship at my home promotion, which is freelance. And I did get to face Storm Grayson. I did the open challenge, and it was the first time that I got to go up for that. And it was great. Yeah. It was an awesome opportunity. And then I got to later main event on freelance, which was also another goal. And I got to main event the student show that we just had with Mason Morgan. That was an awesome opportunity. And then I got to, main event the main freelance show with Devon Monroe, where I tagged with him and then faced Isaiah and then Alfonso.
It's impressive. I saw the Storm match live. That was, I think, I want to say that was my match of the night. I'm fairly certain I saw that live, and I remember a really, really good crowd reaction. But you've main evented more times than I think, or than I thought. I feel like then, yeah, okay. I feel like the peak of the mountaintop is maybe a little bit closer than I thought. But yeah, obviously, keep working at it, keep the natural progression. So that's great. But like, yeah, that's pretty cool that 3 years in and you're already doing cool stuff like that at freelance.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think shout out to freelance for giving people like you opportunity.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Getting into the desserts. Is there anything else? You talked a little bit about music. Anything else non-wrestling related that you enjoy, that you like?
I dabble in like a lot of like little like hobbies, I guess. Okay. I really love I like learning about like the paranormal and stuff like that. I don't actually go ghost hunting, but I love watching the videos and like kind of researching about that. I've always been interested in it. I'm not too sure why. It's just something very captivating, I guess, about it. Yeah. I did a presentation about Ed and Lorraine Warren in like 8th grade for a final project, and this guy, came up to me afterwards and was like, ghosts aren't real, right? I'm like, all right, man, you didn't have to, bash on me like that. But, definitely one of probably the biggest things I like to, pass the time with is to read about that, watch movies. Horror movies I also really like. I was obsessed with for a while. The Conjuring 2, I still stand by, is probably one of my favorites. That was pretty good. But yeah, those are definitely the two things that I like the most outside of wrestling.
Okay, I think I've seen The Conjuring 2. The Conjuring 1 had like really good reviews, right?
Yes, I think honestly the first 2 Conjurings had really good reviews, and then I think after that it kind of started to dwindle down. Unfortunately, I haven't even seen like some of the new ones, but yeah, they had really good reviews. The first one was good. I don't know why I like the second one more, but I feel like it's a little more horror, if you will, the second one, so that might be why.
Yeah, but, I think I've seen those. What do you think about Smile?
Oh man, I have like a love-hate relationship because I think like the movie I thought it was like stupid, but then I actually watched it and I was like, it's better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it is better than you think. Yeah.
maybe I'd watch it again, but I definitely thought that movie was going to be really ridiculous at first from the trailers that I saw. Definitely low
Definitely.
expectations, but they exceeded that at least.
I think it's hard to make good horror nowadays. And so like if I find one that's like, I think Smile is probably like a little above, it's above average, I would say. It's like at least like entertaining.
Right.
There is a lot of bad horror being made nowadays. Like, do you feel that way or no?
Yeah, I do. I feel like there's probably over the last like couple years, there's been a couple of horror movies that were like pretty good that kind of blew me out of the water a little bit and actually terrified me. One of them being Hereditary.
Oh, that's a great one. Hereditary is
That
great.
I don't know why I said Conjuring 2 because that is also up there, but Hereditary
Okay.
honestly favorite like horror movie. It like genuinely scared me because it's like a
Yeah.
psychological horror essentially, and it's just like it starts off slow, but towards the end it definitely picks up, and you're just like, what is going on? This is actually insane.
Yeah.
Um, the same director I think also made Midsummer. That one wasn't
That one's
as
awesome.
horror. That was just, but that one was just like mind blowing at what I'm looking at.
Yeah. That's not
Definitely
necessarily a
visually good.
horror that's like, yeah, that's a different kind of horror than Hereditary.
Absolutely, yeah. So
Yeah. Well, those are some two gems. I don't know if anyone hasn't seen those. I'd say those are two highly recommended
yeah,
ones. So that's great. It's the ghost hunting makes sense because you follow Blair Onyx into the woods, so you weren't afraid of hunting her down.
yeah, exactly. You're so right. You are so right.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. No, that's cool. I think that shows, yeah, a little bit of a different side of you, which I think is the purpose of that question. So that's awesome. What if you're just chilling, relaxing, what wrestling are you watching just in your spare time? Like I see a poster of CM Punk behind you. So I don't know
Yeah.
if you're like if you are following him, but like if you're just like, hey, I just want to chill and watch something, like what do you turn on? Is it older stuff? Is it newer stuff?
Um. mm, Recently, I've been kind of getting into the older stuff. I will say my wrestling knowledge, anything before like the 2000s, I'm probably really bad at, unfortunately. But my friends who are also wrestling fans, they have like a VHS and they have a bunch of like old VHS pay-per-views, and we've been playing those, and uh, good experience to have just even watching it on like a VHS.
Yeah,
I loved it.
absolutely.
I liked it better than watching it on like a TV. But I was watching a lot of the older stuff with them, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." So I started watching a lot of that now in my free time, even just have it on in the background, listen to the commentary, whatever. But it's definitely the older stuff I feel like I've been watching, or like definitely like older NXT as well. Those are the two I've been watching for sure.
Yes. I love older NXT.
Oh, oh yeah.
There was like this era of NXT tag wrestling that was just like the most magical era of tag wrestling. I think it was like
Oh, yeah.
it was around like the DIY American Alpha, like
Yeah. Yep.
the Dash and Dawson. Like there is just like so magical that era. Um, oh God, what were you gonna say? Oh, you know what's funny is like, okay, so VHSs, I love that because like my buddy and I would walk to this movie store when they had movie stores. It wasn't a Blockbuster, but it was just it was like called like Steve's Video or something, owned by this guy named Steve. And we would always rent like a Royal Rumble VHS and then go back and watch it. Like I've seen all the ones in the 90s like several times through. And now in the era of like streaming and like even like you gotta if you're gonna play this thing on your Xbox, you gotta have a certain type of memory. It's just
Right.
like there's so much like barriers now. It's like just give me a VHS player. Like that works
Absolutely.
100% of the time,
Yes.
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like it's just so frustrating with it's like when we create this technology that creates so many other issues and problems. It's like just give me a VHS at this point, you
Okay,
know?
call it a day. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's nuts. Okay, cool. That's great. Okay, so we have word association. It's the last part of the dessert. Chris, I think, helped put together some of this.
All right.
We're gonna say, I'm gonna say a word, and then you give me a one-word answer. Okay.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Okay. You're ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready. As ready as I can be.
Okay. We're in a home stretch here. Okay. First word, freelance wrestling.
Home.
That's probably the best answer. Okay, second, Greta Van Fleet.
Theme song.
Okay, that makes sense. Theme. Hippie culture.
Stevie.
Love it. Women's wrestling.
Ooh, Trish Stratus. That's the first one that came to my mind. I'm like the first thing that came to my mind, just Trish.
Trish. Sue Young.
Oh, sorry. That's not even. I was just gonna say I love her. Not a one word answer. Amazing.
There you go. Mick Foley.
Idol.
Honor Among Wrestling. HAW.
Experience.
Tie dye.
Hobby.
And the last one is the Peacemaker.
Finish.
All right. I love it. That's it. And I think you did very well. Started there. You almost went into a whole tangent about Trish Stratus there, but we got back on the rails.
Yep. Oh, yes.
Cool. Regan, I enjoyed this. I feel like I got to know a little bit more about you. Yeah, you're destined for great things. Chris and I will be there watching in some form, either streaming or in person or catching up via amazing Instagram reels that people are making. But yeah, thanks for coming on. Is there anything you want to say? You have the floor, and for your social handles.
Well, my social handles for Twitter is going to be Regan Lydale. So is my Instagram is Regan Lydale. So if you want to follow me and see my journey, follow me there. And I just want to thank you for having me on. I was very excited I got to finally do this, and I was looking forward to it. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. And then, May 23rd, one goal. You're in the Rumble. Watch out for Blair.
Oh, yeah. She's in there.
She's in there, too.
Yep.
So she might be under the ring or coming down from the rafters. But
Maybe.
Cool. But, yeah, as far as goes for Chris and I, twoheelsontheface.com for everything. At twoheelsontheface on Instagram. That's the number 2, Heels in the Face, and the number 2, heelsontheface.com. This is our last year. Thank you for this journey. We're going to try. We got some cool ideas, hopefully, kind of coming up, but glad we got to talk to Regan, and we'll see you at the next one. Bye.
Yeah.